Good Friday afternoon, evening. It is evening, right?
Yeah, it is evening. 7
For you
o'clock.
it is.
Nighttime.
It's nighttime. It's already dark, right?
It's night. And night is dark.
Okay. It's too existential for me tonight. Tonight. It's been one of those days. Hi, by the way, if you don't know who we are, my name is Darren Pope, and this over here is Victor Farsick, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And on Fridays, we do this live show called DevOps Paradox Live just because we can. Right?
I was about
That's
to say
pretty much
because
it.
we have nothing better to do, but I need to.
No, we both have. Well, this is something we enjoy doing. It gets us away from the things that we need to be doing, right?
Exactly.
It makes us a little more creative for those things. At least that's what we're telling ourselves, right? Mohammed, good to see you today, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. So Victor had a fun day yesterday.
Yeah, I was in France, La France, giving a talk. And discovering that I'm the only one giving a talk in English.
Oh, well.
And I don't know any French, except to say,
Bonjour.
I don't know. Bonjour. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
No, you don't want to say that in front of a bunch of engineers.
Okay. Lesson learned.
Comment allez-vous? It's okay. Bonsoir. Okay. Not what you just said.
Okay.
Sadly, I can still understand French. I can't speak it anymore. I used to be able to speak it decades ago. But that's a different conversation, too. The one time I was in Canada, almost got arrested. When I was 15. That's a whole nother conversation.
Okay. I need to hear that one. But that's not necessarily now.
Not today.
I like the part almost got arrested. Kind of
almost
like
got
I usually
arrested.
speak with people who have stories about being arrested. This is a new one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on into today's show. If you haven't got your drink out, I've already popped mine. I have my lime. That says lime, right?
It says lime. Now, whether you put something inside, that's a different story.
It feels like I have today. Golly, man. It's been one of those things. Let's talk about something a little more fun. Let's talk about the podcast this week. We had Joyce Lynn on from Postman. Postman, the API company, right? That tool that everybody's downloaded on their desktop. Joyce was quite an interesting guest. She was definitely throwing me off my game. I try to be, and naturally I'm polite. Just in general, I'm polite. But she was throwing phrases out that some of it got cut out. But one that got left in, it's like at the end I was asking her, okay, what are your socials or your information? It's like, oh, you mean like my home address? I went, what? It's like something, number one, I could never ask of anybody, much less a woman. And I was like, but I tried to just play it off coolly, but inside I was going, ah. But it was good. And APIs. APIs are everything. That was her title. By the way, this was not what we were supposed to talk about. But it ended up here anyway.
I mean, she made the comment afterwards, if I remember correctly, something like, okay, that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Well, which is fine because, as we also said, things usually don't end up going the way we think. So that's fine. It was fun talking to Joyce and talking about API. She was sort of caught off guard that we were as deep into APIs as we were, I think. It's just...
Yeah, isn't everybody? Kind of like, we are
I
all
guess
using
not.
APIs one way or another. Maybe the difference is not kind of how many of us are using APIs, but how many of us are aware that we are using APIs. I think that's the major difference. Because everybody's using APIs.
Yeah.
They just might not know it.
Might not know it. So that was episode 133. I will go ahead and say I've got the next two already done. Done.
Oh.
No, not okay. We talked about this last week. So done is not. Done means it's scheduled. Done means it's shipped, like live.
Okay.
So I'm not done
Three
yet.
dones.
Yeah, it's not three. It's not three, but it's two. But I've got two out and already at least complete. I'm going to try to do two more this weekend, so I can take next weekend off. That's my goal. And also I only have 2 left because we're recording again next week. So by the time we get around to next week, then next weekend I'll have another set to edit. So maybe I won't take next weekend off. I don't know yet. But here's one thing I do know, because I'm trying to build up a little bit of a cache that it's already complete. So I'm sort of counting all this stuff up, right? I'm building up my metrics to where I can take a weekend off. But somebody else was busy about metrics this week. Google Cloud announced Prometheus as a service.
Yeah.
I mean, AWS did a few months ago. GCP has now. Now we would expect Azure to do the same at some point, right? Just because.
Will.
Yeah. I think everybody will.
They cannot not do it.
Yes.
It's a standard. It's kind of like you cannot be using Kubernetes and connect it to metrics without connecting it to Prometheus. Simply because many of the services that depend on metrics have...
We lost your audio again. Hey, we lost your audio. Hello, hello, hello. Lost your audio. Reboot. Reboot. Yep. Reboot. He'll be back in just a moment. Something happened with his audio today, and that's fine. We'll catch back up when he gets back in. But yeah, I mean, I believe that along with AWS and GCP providing these services, I would also expect the second tiers to start producing those as well. And from that point forward, what's going to happen? Do we even need to install Prometheus anymore? Hopefully not, because the thing with Prometheus is, it's a singleton. I'm waiting on him to get back in. He's on his way back in. And he can't hear me yet either, so that's fine. But as Prometheus has become the standard, then what are we supposed to do? We don't have much of a choice. And what we want Prometheus run for us, just like we want databases run for us. And now that AWS and now GCP have provided that, I expect all the others to soon be doing the same thing. So that is managed service for Prometheus. I did want to scroll down through here. They had a couple of people already using it, obviously, because they don't announce the previews until that happens. But OpenX has been using it, and Horizon as well. And it's just, I think what we're going to see more and more that all of the services around Kubernetes are going to become managed until all the items are just magically there. Let's see if he's back in right now. Here we go. And yes, I hear you now. Yep. And Santiago, good to see you from Spain.
Hey.
I was just rambling, obviously, because whatever. So here's my guess. I'm thinking the second tiers will start providing the services as well. The DigitalOceans, the Linodes, yeah.
They will all have it.
I think everybody will have it. But the question is does it need to be a separate service, or should it just be part of the managed offering? The managed Kubernetes offering. Let me restate that.
Whether it's part of the Kubernetes offer, kind of for a single price or separate, that's a different story. I guess it depends on the business model that somebody adopts. But what matters is that there will be Prometheus everywhere. Simply because many of the services that you might use, let's say that you adopt progressive delivery, kernel deployments, and you pick Flagger. Today, Flagger supports other destinations, but initially it supported only Prometheus. So you have to have it. And the same thing is for other applications, services, SaaS, and so on and so forth. It's the default choice.
So that's Google. Now, this was the first Prometheus item of the week. By the way, are you running through OBS right now or no? Or are you just straight?
No, directly, and I don't know what's happening.
Okay. Were you through OBS before?
No. Before, like in the other episode, yes. Not today.
No. I'm talking about today. Were you in OBS at all today? Okay. All right. The other thing about Prometheus this week is now there's Prometheus agent mode, meaning, which is the bottom line, Prometheus on the edge. So now I've got Prometheus running in all my little IoT devices.
Yes. I mean, Prometheus not running in your IoT devices. Something forwarding metrics to Prometheus from IoT devices. So Prometheus is by design a pull model.
Correct.
And it will stay a pull model. The problem is that with IoT, you cannot really instruct Prometheus where all your devices are.
Right.
And even harder would be for Prometheus to discover it automatically.
Right. So there's an example so basically from 2.32.0 on, which will be the next release, everyone's going to be able to run the binary with an experimental enable feature agent flag. Or you can use it right now. Is it? Yeah, before the release, yes. And here's the drawing. So we've got our apps or whatever, and it's all just sort of out there. Remote writes. I have a feeling this is going to end up on your channel with Toolkit once it goes GA.
Maybe no. I would do it now. It's just that I don't have many IoT devices floating around. And when I say I don't have many, that means none.
You don't even have a Raspberry Pi?
No. I might be the only person on the planet that doesn't have a Raspberry Pi still. My finger was on perch by many times, but then I think, when will I actually assemble it?
Yeah, I've got a lot that I need to decommission and upgrade with new ones, but that's not why we're here today. But there is an example here, Thanos Katakoto tutorial of Prometheus agent, which explains how easy it is to run Prometheus agent. So, I think this is a good thing. You're muted again. Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm going to give you this again. Okay, he's going to reboot again. Not sure what's going on with him today. Very strange. So anyway, that is 2 items for Prometheus, 1 for GCP, and 1 for Prometheus agent mode for metrics forwarding. All cool. All right, so let's move on to an acquisition. Now, we had Uma on from MayaData, and that was for Litmus Chaos, which was a chaos tool that we've looked at in the past. But MayaData also contributed to OpenEBS. Well, this week, DataCore acquired MayaData. So this is going to be interesting because we've talked about storage in the past, and storage has been the biggest pain in the butt for Kubernetes in general. Right, Victor?
Yes, it is. It still is.
I think it will continue to be forever. For anything that... Forever meaning 10 years.
The problem with storage really is that it's in a similar situation where databases were a while ago. That it's part of the industry that hasn't changed much, right? Storage is essentially not much different today than NFS 25 years ago, essentially.
That's true.
Now, there are many solutions popping up, but that's a very recent development, maybe last 4 or 5 years, right? And we are most likely talking about distributed storage taking over as a new way to do stuff.
Okay.
I might even have a video in making on that subject. Who knows?
Oh. Don't know. Can neither confirm nor deny. So there was a joint venture that started almost 2 years ago that was funding technology licensing, transfer of the container team to MayaData, and seats on the board for DataCore. Now it's basically they're just buying it back. So interesting. It's going to be watching storage, and we mentioned this last week, where Longhorn is now incubating alongside Rook.
Yeah.
I think storage will be solved in about 4 to 5 years.
Yes.
Solved. Like,
I would rephrase that improved version of storage or new types of storage will be widely adopted 5 years plus.
okay. Yeah.
Because that's one of those things that you don't change often, really. You don't want to mess with your data.
Right.
Same way as databases are the last ones to go to Kubernetes, for example, or to SaaS.
Right. So anyway, congratulations to everybody at MayaData. But it looks like it wasn't real surprising either. So that's good to see. The real thing why we're here this week.
If I get disconnected now, I'm going to freak out.
Okay. So just since we have audio right now, if you see me throw up this, that means I lost you again. And the reason why we're here is to say hello to Jivan.
That's the primary reason. Yes.
For Fridays.
Hey.
Are you ready for this? I lost it here. So OpenGitOps 1.0 is finally here. This is a great clickbait title, and why you should care. Okay. So what is GitOps? You did a video about this.
Yes, I did. This is it evolved kind of definition over time, became clearer over time. And I'm really happy that now there is a official kind of like, hey, now it's not me saying this, you saying that, and every single person, it's not a situation like with DevOps. With DevOps, still everybody can say whatever they feel like GitOps is. Like, this is what GitOps means to me, type of stuff, right? And even Agile, in a way, still, if you don't go into specifics like Scrum, right? Scrum is well defined. Now we know what GitOps is. Whether you like it or not, that's a different story. But yeah, let's go through the points.
Okay. 4 points. And this is the 1.0 version of it. Right? And that's completely okay. And we lost him again. So he'll come back in just a minute. 4 points. Declarative, versioned and immutable, pulled automatically, so it's polling. We'll set that there for a minute. And continuously reconciled. Those 4 together is what GitOps has been defined as a standard. What's going to be interesting about this is there are numerous vendors that don't follow these 4 steps. There are vendors that do. But surprisingly, once Victor gets back, let's see if he's still here or not. There he is. So I called out the 4. And I said that some vendors completely get it wrong. Some vendors get it correct. And where I was leading in right now is, but there have been vendors that have been doing it this way for decades.
Yes. So Chef, Puppet, and a few others, they've been doing this forever. But also, there was a strong push on those vendors to stop doing it. I remember, I'm not now sure whether I'm talking about Chef and Puppet, whoever made Knife, that there was a strong kind of push. Hey, I want to manage my my infrastructure through the CLI without the server continuously reconciling things. But yes, Chef, Puppet, and a few other tools were doing this for a very, very long time. And then we switched into a different way of managing infrastructure. I think that now it's time that we're going back to that. But in this case, I think that we are talking more about applications than infrastructure, even though GitOps applies to both.
I agree. Most people get points 1 and 2 correct. Declarative, versioned, and, well, not even completely correct. Declarative and immutable. Excuse me, declarative and versioned, not necessarily immutable. Right?
Yes. I mean, it's immutable. If it's a Git, it's immutable.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. All right. I'll go there. Yes. but it's the pulled automatically and, more importantly, automatically reconciled or continuously reconciled. I guess that's more important. That continuously, not even automatically, but continuously reconciled. It's that fourth point that's the big one.
I mean, the third point is if you have a webhook that is triggering something whenever you push something to Git repository, you're breaking the third point, right? Meaning that if Git is pushing information or making a request to start a process that does something, and then continues to reconcile, if you don't have a process that is continuously trying to converge the two states, also you're failing, right? So third and fourth. Now, where I feel slightly disappointed, I think, was that the definition went towards declarative syntax. Because it's really, really hard to define what is declarative. I'm pretty sure that the authors of that, of the, what is it, manifest, right? Of those
It
rules?
is the... They didn't call it a manifesto. They didn't call it...
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever
I'm
it is,
100% sure that if I would ask now any of the authors, hey, is Helm okay? They would say yes, right? Falls into that definition. But is Helm declarative? Well, not really,
Yeah.
right? It's not declarative. I mean, yes, there is YAML over there, but there are also imperative if-else statements, loops, and so on and so forth, right? And then if I would ask those same people, does Pulumi fall into that? No. But most likely the answer would be no. But then kind of like, okay, where is the boundary? Where do you actually...
And we lost him again. So, I'm going to let him come back on that one, because understanding where the boundaries are and figuring out how these are defined. And I think one of the key parts here is how this lines up. The desired state of a GitOps managed system must be. And I'll read that back once he gets here. So if these four have to support this sentence, then it all makes sense. But if your boundary is, okay, it's in Git and it's versioned and it's immutable, then, okay, I'm partially GitOps. Is that even a thing? Or I'm half GitOps. What would that even mean? Again, it's these steps 3 and 4 that are the biggest issues there. And, okay, so while you were gone, go ahead and talk. Make sure I got you. Hello? Talk. Okay, good. All right, just make sure you're there. Okay. So what I was stating was these 4 points support this sentence. The desired state of a GitOps managed system must be. So if you don't want to manage a system using GitOps, then these 4 things don't really matter.
Yes.
Just doesn't matter. Going back to your Pulumi example, Pulumi is versioned and immutable, just like Terraform is.
Mm-hmm.
Terraform is more declarative, but again, with some of the examples of Pulumi, I can make Pulumi declarative as well.
Exactly.
It leans towards imperative, but I can make it declarative. Now, Terraform Cloud and the Pulumi systems pulled automatically, roughly.
Do they? Okay. Do they pull periodically?
No, it's a push. It's a push.
I think it's a push.
Yep. Because there's no agents, right? That's the whole thing. Because if you're thinking about Argo CD, which we've talked about before, or Flux, right? They're polling, they're looking and pulling things in.
Exactly.
Right. I don't like polling though. I just don't like polling. But the poll happens based on a hook, correct?
Yes. No, the pool doesn't. There is no hook in pooling. Push.
No, I know that. But so this is my question on Argo, because this is Argo CD specifically. Is there a hook sent that it's listening for that it then goes ahead and clones, or is it cloning on a schedule?
It's cloning periodically depending on I think by default every 3 minutes.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
Right. So, but there is a difference, I think, and I do agree that in the past I disliked pool method, but that's because my head was trying to apply pool-based mechanism on actions that should be performed when I commit something. Like, hey, whenever I commit, I want to build an image, right? So that's an action that I want to perform whenever I commit. This is slightly different. This is, hey, it's not that I want an action whenever I commit.
Right.
It's just that I want this to be the same as that all the time. You go and figure it out. Don't ask me to notify you when I change something.
Yeah, which makes sense, because I just want it pulled down. Now, if I'm creating repositories that are 60 meg, 60 gig, then that's another problem, right? This assumes that you've got a lightweight-ish Git repository, so the clone isn't bad.
Yep.
And then the continuously reconcile, because this is the other thing too, an event could be lost. Right?
Doesn't matter if you're continuously reconciling.
Right. So if I was dependent upon events instead of the pull mechanism, then I lose an event, then I'm automatically out. Versus here, I'm 3 minutes behind, roughly. Okay, whatever, right? Time to go to the bathroom and come back. Time to go get a cup of coffee and come back.
And you're likely going to miss commits.
Yes.
Because in those 3 minutes, you might have 7 commits.
Correct.
To the main line, right?
Right.
But that's not the contract. The contract is that, hey, the actual state is going to be what the head of that branch in that repository is. Right? Head is this. What was before that doesn't matter. But what I like the most about this is that finally I can stop arguing with people when they say we're doing GitOps, and I say you're not, and then they say yeah, because GitOps to me is this. Now I can say, okay, let's stop talking about what is GitOps to me and what is GitOps to you. Go and read that thing. It just happens to be the same as what I believe in.
Yep. Okay. And there is an article, so down in the description of the video afterwards, there'll be a link to this along with everything else, but there's also going to be a link to an article that was on NewStack talking about this blog post that I thought was interesting. I don't want to get into that right now because that's their editorial stuff, since we have the source material here. What's interesting is they even call out as the Git history shows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, and you can take a look at the history of what it took to get to 1.0 and how they built this all out. So it's not
nice.
but is GitOps being GitOps? I don't, never mind. There's no system here, so it doesn't matter. But they go into declarative is usually the easiest principle to understand. It may be the easiest to understand, but it's the hardest to agree on, I guess.
Yes.
Maybe.
It's something I don't agree with. The only thing. But, okay, it's official, so it's not anymore about me agreeing or disagreeing.
Right. The context doesn't matter. This is the quote-unquote standard, at least for 1.0, and that's okay. Use Git, more than that. Latest tag. Pulled automatically. Again, we've talked about that. And continuously reconciled. To me, this is the big problem. Is when you have a system that starts to drift due to whatever reason, whether it's people going into the console and clicking around, or they are running things from the command line and bypassing the Git repository, they end up getting burned big time. So drift is a big deal, and that's the reason why everything has to be in that repository. And it should always try to converge the two together, the desired state against actual. And let's keep those in sync. So that's the purpose of why we're doing this. All right, and they're looking for some help, so that's a good thing too. So if you feel like you need to jump in on that, they did mention here that I thought was interesting is Amazon, Azure, CodeFresh, GitHub, Red Hat, and Weaveworks all teamed up to launch this working group. And I think just seeing that these people came together to work on this is a good thing, because these are all reasonably big names. Wouldn't you say so?
I would say so.
Okay. All right. So anyway, 60 companies, 96 interested parties, and 34 co-authors into the principles and glossary. Here, this is the one thing we didn't take a look at either. I meant to bring this up. There's all the co-authors, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you can click through all this, read through all the documents. I would recommend it just to understand what it is that people think GitOps is, because it's no longer contextual. It's been written down. If you disagree with it, it's okay to disagree with.
Make a pull request.
Make a pull request.
Yeah, no, really, literally disagree. Yeah. Make a pull request.
Let's see. Reintroduce break glass. Here, let's look at that real quick. From RC1.
Files changed.
Huh?
Files changed.
Yeah. Thank you. So break glass was taken out. They want to put it back in.
Yep.
Should you have break glass in GitOps?
Not for this episode.
Okay, so let me ask the question differently. Should there be a concept of break glass with GitOps? I think having it defined is important, right? Just so you understand what break glass is. But the question is, should there be a break glass function within GitOps?
It should be everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. You should be able to pause any process that you run seldomly or never use. But yes, the same way as, for example, should you have the option to suspend CI/CD pipelines? Yes. Should you use that option? No, unless it's a really tough situation. And the same thing applies for almost everything, right? There should be that option.
Let's say you are in an organization that is doing failover testing between two data centers. You're not even in cloud yet. You would want to go ahead and execute that break glass, right? And suspend all of that while you're in the middle of that failover, right?
Yep. I mean, there can be reasons. Simply, it's usually a disaster type of situation. The point is that you should be able to pause any process.
Okay. All right. So here, do me a favor while I've got you and I can still see you. Give me a thumbnail. Give me something. I don't know what we want. We're talking about OpenGitOps. So what is? There you go. Yeah. Give me the puppy dog face again. Yeah. No, you should be happy. How do you feel about OpenGitOps?
OpenGitOps.
Yeah. You like it. There we go. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted. Okay. ghorg. I thought this was interesting. It's a tool that allows you to clone an entire organization or user, so my user repository, into one directory. And it poorly named, although it says ghorg, it supports GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket, and more. So what do you do? Well, what's the purpose of this? Why would you want to basically clone an org? Well, doing a search across everything. Okay, that's an okay one. Bash scripting, that's good. Creating backups, that's nice. Onboarding, don't get that. But performing audits, that's the one part that I think it's important.
I don't think that any of those are useful.
Well, you're wrong. So that's fine.
Kidding. The thing that the use case that I think is missing there, and the one I would like the most, is as a way to move from Bitbucket to GitHub or GitLab.
Oh, just the migration.
Yeah.
Well, there's no reason why you couldn't use it for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can't. You just don't have the push side of it, right? You got the pull side, but now you just don't have the push side.
Yeah. So this is now, in all seriousness, I think that this is very useful. But I would actually, the only thing I'm questioning is whether you should do those operations live against the Git or back it up first.
Right.
Right.
But he goes through the example of cloning the Kubernetes org. No.
I don't do that unless you have to. Unless you have to. Or make sure you have a really good machine with a lot of disks.
Yeah. So I thought this is pretty cool though. This
nice.
This is useful for many things. And again, it's I'm going to call it pretty old, even though it's 4 years. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It's a good one.
This one is called XQ. JQ, YQ. Now we have XQ. Who still uses XML?
I don't know. I'm surprised that this was made now and not like 10 years ago.
Well, you could do this with XML lint, I think.
I
think you could, but this at least is prettier, and so you can do XQ. So just like how you would typically work JQ, this appears. You can do XQ. You can do queries against it, just like you would do.
It's probably exact. I'm guessing. I haven't used it. It's exactly the same syntax as JQ. Or very similar.
That's my guess as well.
Or maybe not.
Well, it's using XPath, so it's. I mean, it's the query languages obviously are different between the two, but I would expect it to be similar. Whether it's the same is a different question. So XQ. So if you're stuck still working with XML and you're needing to parse it, this might be one of your things. If you haven't already written really nasty sed functions to do it for you. Sed and awk. Sed and awk is the answer for everything. So that is XQ. All right, so now let's go here. And we lost him again, so that's fine. Okay, so NHI. Now, I've been trying to read and understand more about eBPF. And what NHI is it gives you the ability to capture everything about an executed command along with its output. And it also gives you the ability to query it, which I haven't looked at yet. This is a newer-ish project. It's built on top of eBPF, but it keeps track of the commands, the output of the commands, the exit status, the working directory at the end of a command, the start, finish times, the prompt at the time of command, just everything, right? They're adding in more things as time goes along, but it's based on eBPF. And at this point, it's only supported on Linux, so no good for Mac at this point. And you need at least 5.5 of the Linux kernel. So with that, it's just a matter of installing it and off you go. And I want to try this out. I'm prepping for some videos for next week, and I've got like 3 or 4 instances up. Linux instances up, and I want to track this because I'm doing some really weird things right now just for some tests. So we'll see what happens here. Are you back? Give me some audio. Hello? Nope, no audio.
Yes, I am back.
Okay.
I learned how to disconnect myself without your signals.
Okay. So that's NHI. Uptime.is. I thought this was a great little site. So you need a uptime calculator. This is your friend. There's a simple version, a flexible version, a reverse version, which we'll look at, and then there's also an integration with Telegram, if you're using Telegram. So how many of you are actually at 99.9%, also known as 3 nines? 1 minute of downtime a day. Do you have more than 1 minute downtime a day? 1 minute and 26 seconds to be precise?
On average.
All right, so you might have 3 nines. So you're down maybe 8 hours a year. Let's go take a look at 5 nines, just because we can. No time down daily, 6 seconds a week. 6 seconds a week. 26 seconds a month.
I know companies that still have cannot do that SLA because of a single release to production. A single release to production that tends to actually break that SLA already.
A single release to production looks more like that. Actually, that's a little too pretty. That's actually too good.
That's a bit too much, but
88. Yeah, there we go. No, think about it, because if you had a release so bad, 20 hours downtime, about a day. You've worked in places before where your deploys happen all weekend. You shut down in the middle of the night, Friday night, Saturday morning, and you don't bring it back up until Sunday morning?
Now, truth be told, that was the reason why we did them kind of a couple of times a year at most.
Yeah.
Right? So it wouldn't be really 88%, but yeah. 99.939 was a unreachable goal in at that time, and it still is for many. More than 3 nines is already something where majority fails. Unless you're faking. Now, there is a kind of like, oh, this doesn't count type of stuff, right?
Right.
Nah.
If we take a look at the flexible one, go ahead.
Many companies even don't know what their SLA really is.
No, they don't. If we take a look at, so the flexible one gives you more information here. And then reverse was, okay, how much time do you want? So 22 minutes gives you, so let's say I only want to allow 1 minute of downtime a year. Well, yearly it's 100, but weekly I'm only 4 nines. This calculator is great. And then I won't do the Telegram thing because I don't have Telegram set up here. But
yeah.
It's a cool little tool. Good way to waste time and make enemies, I guess, is one way to think about it. Speaking of making enemies, I don't think you made any enemies this week about LocalStack. LocalStack seems to be the bomb. Sort of.
I said some bad things about LocalStack, and I said some great things about LocalStack. Overall, I think it's great. I love it. I don't like that LocalStack is reliant on Docker, so it's failing big time in my Kubernetes cluster. And I do not want to run Docker in production. Okay, in a server. Docker locally, that's perfectly fine. So kind of like for practicing locally on your laptop, I think it's great. But if I want to use it as I do for some sort of testing, whenever you create a PR that is somehow related with AWS, let's use LocalStack running somewhere. I want to run LocalStack in Kubernetes. And then I discover, hey, hard-coded all over the place. But if I ignore that, I think it's absolutely amazing service. There's work to be done. There are resources to the missing and so on and so forth. But it's an amazing effort. I love it. I love the potential of it, let's say, rather than this current state.
Yep. So that is LocalStack. But it was funny because AWS on a laptop, we talked about that when? A couple of podcast episodes, and it's like, we need to run all of AWS on our laptop. Well, you sort of can. Not really.
You can run fully functional mock of AWS.
Yeah.
Not AWS. Please don't go to that video and switch from AWS to your laptop and blame me afterwards.
Yeah, but do go to the video and leave a comment or give it a thumbs up anyway.
Yeah.
Please go do that. So you did your... what did you do your talk on yesterday in France? Was it GitOps?
About making...
Okay, we lost him again. So here we go. Who knows what's going on with him today? So anyway, I don't even know what he talked about in France today. All I know is he was in France yesterday and now he's back home today. And just walking through these things for people that are in the U.S., next week is Thanksgiving. We still should be here because he doesn't need to hear this. We should be here next Friday. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't be because I'm definitely not going Black Friday shopping. But you're back now. Talk.
Technology is horrible. I don't know. We need to get rid of technology.
Have you rebooted yet?
No, I'm going to reboot afterwards.
Afterwards.
I'm rebooting the browser, kind of.
Oh, okay. We'll just reboot your machine. Okay, it doesn't matter. We'll sort of wrap it up here. So, episode coming out on Wednesday. We should do a live stream next Friday. No, we did the stream yesterday on DevOps Toolkit about CI/CD pipelines. So if you haven't watched that, go watch that. Add questions because there were a lot of questions we didn't get to, and we'll try to address them a little bit later on. So your next one is going to be in 2 weeks from yesterday. I don't even remember what day that is. Do you know what that?
Thursday. That would be Thursday after next.
Thursday after next. What is the
Don't know yet. The subject.
Yeah, you don't know yet. Okay. I figured you might have known. But anyway.
No.
Okay, cool. And if you haven't subscribed here yet, go ahead and do that right underneath Victor. Go ahead and click on subscribe, or if you're watching on mobile, I'm not sure where the subscribe button is. And leave us a thumbs up before you leave. And for people that have watched the replay, sorry about all of the craziness today. Normally, it's me that's dropping out and not Victor. So I was sort of shocked that I stayed online the whole time today.
It had to be me once at least.
Yeah, just once. Don't ever do that again because you can talk about things a lot better than I can. So don't leave me hanging like that again. That's fine. All right. So, this is for everyone to use Kubernetes, it needs to disappear. That's super true. And it's happening on a day-by-day basis, I think.
We're getting there.
Okay. Well, cool. So we'll go ahead and let everybody head out for the weekend. I'm headed back to my hole to do some more writing. And we will talk to everybody again next Friday. For everybody in the U.S., have a great Thanksgiving and eat way too much turkey because that's always a good thing to do. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.